Good morning, everybody. Well, what a week it's been. And I'd like to take a moment to deal with three things with you this morning that I think are very important to Georgia and the future of Georgia. Firstly, I'd like to say that who we are, what we are, and what we do, our ethics, our principles are fundamental. And that has been in sharp focus this week because the issue has been that we have taken, during the pandemic and even beforehand, equines in a state of starvation and distress, and nothing ever changes. Last week was tragic because we took the horse from a road traffic accident and had to euthanize it, and for that we got a lot of criticism. It was particularly hurtful when the woman who organised the transport said, "What sort of association are you if you can't even deal with a broken leg?" I don't need to say any more. But the reality is we have taken horses who are starving, and by applying our ethical values, we have nursed them and brought them to good health. And in Morocco, that's quite difficult because horses and equines, donkeys, mules are left to starve. They're usually left and they die. But here at Georgia, it's always known we will deal with it, we will treat them. So that brings me on to the second point. Why is Georgia in that particular position that they can do that? And I tell you why. Because of our supporters, and secondly, and most importantly, because of our amazing team. Again, it has been brought into sharp focus this week how much I rely on them. And I am ruthless in support of Georgia and the wish for it to continue at all costs. And all my team here are of the same mind. So when there is a crisis, they're there. They will come in. They show the very best of Morocco. They really, really do. And for that, we're so grateful. I just mention at a point, people like Abjeli. Ayoub gets a lot of the credit, but Abjeli is always here. And he came in during the night over the last few days. Abjeli is married with a young family. And I have to thank their families as well, because when Abjeli says, "I have to go to Georgia in the middle of the night, I'm needed," his wife doesn't say, "Oh no, what about the children? We're so important." The whole family is with us. And those are the people we need for Georgia to flourish and continue. I make that point very strongly. We do not have truck with people who come and wander off without ever giving any consideration to the future of Georgia. So that brings me on to the third point, and the tragedy of losing Oumnass last night, and you'll have seen that online. I saw the collective grief of the team this morning as they gathered to bury the horse. This horse meant so much to us because when the pandemic started, we didn't take horses at Georgia. And Oumnass was our very first horse. He was brought to us, and thank you so much to them, from the Marrakesh Liberty Association, who had picked him up and really were at a loss to know what to do. And he came to us at death's door. He was dying, and we gave him serum, and all the men from Oumnass came over and carried him into a stable, and he survived. He then had the most dreadful abscess from the awful straps he'd been wearing when pulling a cart. He survived because of our amazing Abdani, who was able to intervene and take over the treatment. And then we had his previous owner turn up who wanted him back. I fought it. I fought it with every bone in my body. I remember to this day giving a statement at the gendarmerie that I would never let this horse go. And my position was accepted and we kept the horse. So Oumnass has been so important to us. He was our first horse and he set the path for many to follow. So in today's grief, I don't look back and say, oh, how awful. I look forward and say, what has Oumnass left us? And Oumnass has left us this. We've learnt so much. And I thank all the people who've responded and communicated with me and spelled out how difficult it is with starving horses. So often when you think you've got them to good health, 2 or 3 years later on, the issues will begin to emerge. And Oumnass had a dreadful, dreadful bout of colic. We're going to have more of this happen to us because we've taken so many starving horses. So everybody is on high alert of how we deal with these horses, how we introduce food gradually, and so on. But most important, this will be Oumnass's legacy. As I say, this isn't an issue that occurs much in Morocco because starving horses are left to die. And we have taken this on board. And his position was so difficult that all the medical intervention, and we have an amazing vet, just wasn't working. If he were in the UK, he would have been taken into a hospital at one of the university centres. And the reality is, as I've been told, his gut was possibly so twisted that only surgery was an option. Our vet here is amazing, and we've seen him operate under the most awful circumstances. He has very, very good skills, but he doesn't always have the facilities in order to perform an operation quickly in the right circumstances. So this is Oumnass's lesson to us all. It will happen again, and the next horse will have a better chance because we are resolved as from today that the 2 units next to our clinic are going to be converted into an operating theatre. And when we have a situation again with a horse with colic and the normal medical interventions aren't working, we will insist that surgery takes place, and it will take place here because we really trust that we will try to do the right thing. And the advantage of the surgery taking place here is that we have this amazing team who will work around the clock to nurse that horse back to good health. They won't all disappear at 5 o'clock and say we're off duty now. They are amazing, and they are skilled, and they're well trained by our veterinarian. So we're looking forward to a better future for the starving horses in Morocco. We have learnt so much, and thank you so much for everyone who has contacted me and shared their experiences over dealing with colic. We are heartbroken. We all loved Oumnass, and she will never be forgotten. She won't be forgotten by the Marrakesh Association of Liberty Horses, who has messaged me this morning and were partly responsible for bringing her here, for the JRC horse show people who were always interested and committed and supported us in her welfare. And I'm saying her. I sort of looked upon her as another woman. She's not. She was a stallion. Him. He will be our future. We promise to help all equines that cross the gates of Georgia.